All right, so we have a quorum. It's 6:01. I figure it's probably a good time to start this meeting. I'd love to bring the meeting into order. That being said, let's run towards roll call.
Commissioner Hatwig.
Present.
Commissioner Roper.
Present.
Commissioner Halajian.
Here.
Commissioner Goldbeck. Here. Commissioner Rocha.
Here.
Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
All right, full house tonight. That's great. We also have some attendees from the public, so it's, thank you for attending for this month's meeting. The next item right now, we have an election of officers. Currently, I'm just sitting in as interim chair until officially it goes one way or another. We have a vacancy for vice chair. And we usually go through this process and nominate each other or see who is willing to take a different role than their current seats. Is there anybody that would like to get the discussion started on where this commission is headed?
Well, I did a scientific poll and I found that your approval ratings are very high.
Why, thank you. So I am, I am more than enthusiastic about being chair. It's a natural progression for me being vice chair for so long. But we do have a vacancy on the vice chair as well. And it'd be, yes.
I nominate
Make suggestions.
Commissioner Goldbeck as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay.
All right. So currently we have two, me moving up towards the chair and Rob and Commissioner Goldbeck being nominated, and I'm assuming okay with the nomination to moving towards vice chair. So I believe we need to, with both of those, do a first and a second on both being elected.
I move that Commissioner Hatwig be elected as chair.
I second that.
All right. So we have a first and a second for chair and vice chair. Those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. So we can move on to the next agenda item, which is approving the meeting minutes. There are three of them, and we'll call them out.
You have to do Robin.
Chair Hatwig.
Oh,
yeah, sorry. I think you need to do a roll call because we're on Zoom. So while you had unanimous voice consent, I think we should do a roll call election on this one.
A roll call election.
But
Okay.
procedurally.
Okay, so
Mike, does somebody from your shop want to take the roll call for the motion?
Jason Hatwig. Or
Here.
Just reread the motion.
There is a motion on the floor and a second, but in order to actually do it, what was done was a voice consent, a voice vote, but instead I think we should do a roll call because we're on Zoom. That's typically how we've been doing it for other bodies as well. So when she calls your name, just say aye or nay. Yes, I vote in favor, or I vote against.
okay.
Do you want them as one motion combined? Or
I believe it was one motion combined.
Okay.
Okay. Jason Hatwig.
Aye.
Christina Roper.
Aye.
Paul Halajian.
Aye.
Robin Goldbeck. Aye. Christopher Rocha.
Aye.
Don Simmons.
Aye.
So the ayes have it. Go ahead, Chair.
So we can move on to approve the meeting minutes. Now, shall we identify each one? Because I'm not 100% positive who was attending each individual one. I know I was at all three, but I want to make sure that we have a quorum per each meeting minutes. So if you were not in March, and I'm assuming that we'll be doing roll call approvals on these as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we have any motions to approve the March meeting minutes?
I move we approach the March meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Second. So we got a first and a second. And let's do a roll call approval.
Jason Hatwig,
Aye.
Christina Roper,
Aye.
Paul Halajian,
Aye.
Robin Goldbeck. Aye. Christopher Rocha,
Aye.
John Simmons,
Aye.
Okay, I move we approve the, what is it, April 2000?
April will be the next.
Minutes?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Let's do a roll call approval.
Jason Hatwig,
Aye.
Christina Roper,
Aye.
Paul Halajian,
I was absent. I abstain.
Robin Goldbeck. Aye. Christopher Rocha,
Aye.
John Simmons.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, I move we approve the June 2021 minutes, meeting minutes.
Is there a second? All right. Roll call approval, please.
Jason Hatwig,
Aye.
Christina Roper,
Aye.
Paul Halajian.
Aye.
Robin Goldbeck. Aye. Christopher Rocha,
Aye.
John Simmons.
Abstain. I was absent, I believe.
All right. Okay. The agenda for tonight, do we have any motions to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to
Or any
approve.
comments? Or
I'll second.
was that Chris? Okay,
Yeah,
first and a second.
was great. Sorry.
Gotcha. So we got a first and a second, Commissioner Rocha and Commissioner Roper, and roll call approval on the agenda.
Jason Hatwig,
Aye.
Christina Roper,
Aye.
Paul Halajian,
Aye.
Robin Goldbeck. Aye. Christopher Rocha,
Aye.
John Simmons.
Aye.
We have nothing on the consent calendar, so we'll skip past that and move along to continued matters. And I will turn it over to staff for the first item, V-A.
So, good evening, Commissioners. Mike Sanchez, Assistant Director. I'm here to give you a brief overview on the economic incentive programs that Historic Preservation currently oversees, those being the Mills Act program and the Historic Preservation Mitigation Program. First off, the Mills Act program, we currently have 10 projects in the queue for Mills Act's consideration. Staff is diligently working to get those analyzed and back to the commission as quickly as possible. Our goal is to have all 10 done by the end of the fiscal year, but you should be getting a few probably as the meetings come up within the next several months. But we do have a backlog. We need to address those right away. We are getting a lot of calls on these, so it's imperative that staff, start bringing these back to the commission for their review and approval. With respect to Mitigation Fee Act, we do currently have $100,000 in our budget to deal with the request for the Mitigation Fee Act. We currently have, Janice, I think, can you put up on the screen the Mitigation Fee Act one?
Do you want the map or the sum?
Well, the map is fine.
Okay.
So the dots you see on the map on your screen currently reflect the number of mitigation Fee Act projects we also have in the queue. It totals about 14 of those projects. Half are from 20 and the other half are from this year. We do expect to have those also done by the end of the fiscal year. And just based on the applicant's initial projections as to what their costs are going to be, the $100,000 we have allocated will cover, at least at this point in time, the expenses that, based on the formula, will cover all 14 of those projects. So we feel very good about that. It's just up to staff to get those items approved and brought back to the commission for consideration and approval. I think we only had one done this year. That was a very simple paint job on, I believe it was Cambridge Avenue. So that one was completed. But I will say that all told, the projects will probably cost about a little over $80,000 based on the formula. And we're very fortunate this year. I may have mentioned in a previous meeting, we typically get $50,000 a year. This year, we got 100. So we are certainly going to take advantage of that and try to get those funds expedited as soon as possible. So with that in mind, we certainly, staff certainly is committed to get these projects back to you in a timely manner so folks can start taking advantage of these programs. And I will certainly, I think as we move forward in our next budget season, which begins in January, I definitely would want some input from this commission as to what they see as being some of our critical needs for next year and future years for that matter. I know in the past we've had some of the least our historic preservation officers in the past have certainly put in requests for monies for special historic districts and surveys and things of that sort, and they were not funded. But I think because there's a much more renewed interest, I just think it's important to have this commission's input as to what they see the needs are and see if we get some additional funding, perhaps some funding for some consultants to help us with these surveys, which do take some time, as you're very well aware. So with that in mind, that concludes my overview. And if we need to meet separately to discuss this, we can certainly do that. But that is our goal, at least for the upcoming budget year, is to keep what we have and try to secure some more funds for other historic preservation projects. So certainly any input that the commission can give us either tonight or in a future meeting. One idea that I had was to bring, maybe have a separate workshop before this commission to see what all those future needs might be. And I'd like to do that sometime before the end of this calendar year, so that way I can prepare that budget preparation for our city council's consideration. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. And
It looks like there's a question by
Okay.
the commissioner.
So with that, I'll take any questions you may have. I see Don, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Will the commission have opportunities to see the Mills Act properties before they come back to the commission?
That's a good question. I think so. And that's part of one of the items on the agenda is after this one. But yes, I think that's one of the things we want to implement. We want to get back to what we did before. And we had a discussion about this, Don, as you're aware. And I certainly want to get the commissioners involved a lot more than we have in the past year. As you know, we went through a transition year. We're working very hard to streamline that and get things back in order. So with that, Don, yes, I would say we'll find a way to get either all commissioners or maybe just a few of the commissioners out to see some of these sites. Because I do know that the Mills Act does require that. So we'll definitely get the commission involved before there's any kind of final action taken.
Is it possible to see the list of the 10 now?
Yes, Janice, can you pull that one up, please?
The
That's the other one.
mitigation one?
No, the Mills Act. So-
The mitigation also, but first the mills.
This is the Mills Act.
Yes, these are the 10 that are they're in the queue. The ones in blue are ones that were submitted in 2021. The ones in green were from last year. You can see the addresses there. These addresses may be familiar to many of you, but that's what we have in the queue at this particular moment. If there's something I think that
Are you
should be-
referring to the map that's here?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't change. Okay. There we
Thank you.
go.
And pending. Are there any other questions from the commission to staff? Or any comments regarding ideas?
Ideas for potential studies, is that the question?
Well, you know, the one idea moving in my mind is as these are going to be progressing forward, is we're going to have to have some subcommittees appended to each one during the site visit, so that commission can work with the owners on their list of qualifying Mills Act either remodel work or repairs like we've done in the past. So that would include generally staff member, it would be Alicia, and 2 commission officers that would be present per each site. And in the past, we've mixed it up to where, you know, a team of 2 would take 2 or 3, and another team would take 2 or 3, and we go along from there. And the first year, I think we got through quite a few, but that probably needs to be reestablished like we were doing it prior.
Agreed.
And this would be something that as staff gets to closer to doing site visits and putting those on the calendar, an email can go out to the commissioners who are who can say if they're available or not available. But yeah, a minimum of 2 per site was the past.
I'll just say, having participated in the past, that I think that all worked really well, Alicia. Sometimes there are some specialized, certainly like architectural things, or materials questions and things that the homeowners have. And we're able to kind of give them ideas and bounce things off of them. Some of them are very experienced in doing rehab already. And they're just looking to further their efforts, and some end up just spreading out.
Question to staff, this being a continued matter and more of an economic incentive kind of update on where we're at. Is this an item that goes also to the public for just general comments or questions?
Yeah, Mills Act eventually comes back for public to the HBC and with public comment.
I think he means.
Okay. So we this isn't a public comment portion on the continuing matters items.
Correct, it's just information.
Okay. Great. Okay, any more questions on that first item, VA? Hearing none, let's move along to the next one, VB.
So, Chair Hathaway, item B is basically what we kind of just talked about, is establishment of subcommittee to perform these on-site evaluations for Mills Act and the Mitigation Fee Act and other projects as they come in. So it's really kind of to help staff along, to help move projects along. So it's up to the commission to decide, one, whether to have a subcommittee, and two, who they wish to have on there. And certainly if they wish to have a team of two with an alternate, that's certainly fine, but I'll leave that up to commission to discuss.
Okay. I know not only on just applicable to the Mills Act, but when we get involved with projects where there's the need for a site visit or limited destruction on a building to see what's behind the facade, those subcommittees form project to project and usually involve someone like a licensed architect who can really understand the fabric the most. But I know we've developed some of those subcommittees in the past, and it's good to have an idea of when we have projects like that come up to appoint those at the time those items are being heard. Any questions or comments? Oh, go ahead.
I just think one thing is we kind of run into the situation where if we had a standing subcommittee that could be called on when, for instance, maybe a permit was being suggested or whatever processing was happening, that might keep us from having to form one at a meeting. But I would see that personally as separate from the Mills Act site visit groups. I think there's so many sites in that instance that it really needs to be spread out among the commission.
So would that be something we could potentially add as an action item for the next meeting, as a development of specific subcommittees, one for anytime there's some exploratory investigation that needs to go on, that we have Robin or Paul present and another member, or both Robin and Paul, either or, on the architectural component, or Christina even appointed to that subcommittee, because there's a lot of historical content and professional licensure involved in identifying what those buildings have behind it and the construction around it. I think that'd be a good thing to pre-set up a subcommittee anytime there's a specific item that comes up needing those components.
Could we refer to that as an architectural review subcommittee versus a Mills Act subcommittee? Or
yeah, I think that's the way I would understand it.
I mean, as a lowly archaeologist, what I can provide is historic background research and potential for other non-visible historic features. And I'm happy to do that. But obviously, I lack the architectural chops.
I think that would be something that can be added to a commission item next month, is setting aside at least, so that way we can turn things around quick. Speed is really necessary on a lot of these projects. If we have a couple pre-set up subcommittees for certain scenarios, that would be ideal.
Jason, is it not possible to do that this evening?
I don't see why we couldn't. That would be more of an unscheduled item.
What's the question again?
I would have to default to the city attorney to see if we can appoint subcommittees without it being on the agenda?
So the chair has the authority to establish subcommittees at your discretion, consistent with the commission's tasks. And you do have an agendized item that says consider establishing subcommittees. So I think based upon it being agendized and you having authority under the bylaws, you have the authority to do it today. That doesn't mean you have to do it today. If you want some time to think about who to place where, you can certainly bring it back as an item at the next meeting.
Well, I know we're all here, which is wonderful, and because it is on this agenda, and knowing now that we can establish, would anybody just out of thought object to establishing a subcommittee, at least for on the architectural review end of things? Anytime we have something that comes up and we need to get somebody qualified out there in person quickly, that we can.
I have no objection to that.
I have no objection.
Are you looking for a
Do we
motion?
have?
Just to be clear,
Yeah,
you don't have to make a motion. This is not an
Okay.
action item for the commission. You actually have the authority as the chair. But if you would like a motion, I think that you could go that route, but definitely it's within your discretion to get consensus and then just do it.
Go,
Sure.
Go, Jason.
Okay, with consensus and hopefully an agreement, I would love to appoint both Robin and Paul Halajian on an architectural review subcommittee anytime we have a need to get out to a site and look at the fabric or look at the interior of the building or any sort of historical content on it, in case there's an emergency item that pops up that we need to go out there and make some calls on. Would you be okay with that, Robin and Paul?
Yes.
Okay, subcommittee is appointed. Well, I guess, Robin, I would probably seek your approval as well.
That's good.
Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, then we will consider that committee formed. Is there any other committees in this while we're at this item that anybody can think of off the top of their head needing to be formed?
Chair,
Okay, hearing.
go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'll say you may wish to consider establishing an economic incentives committee, for lack of a better term, that will cover the Mills Act, Mitigation Fee Act, to go out those business. That's up to the commission.
Okay, I do know two wonderful individuals that I envision on that subcommittee. One would be Don and the other one Christopher, who have a little knowledge about that process. Would either of you object to being on the subcommittee?
No objection.
All right,
Chris.
so let's form. Go ahead, Chris.
With Chris.
Yes. So I like the subcommittee for economic incentives and development, that we can, further apply the Mills Act and mitigation programs in the future. If we need some help in that regard, a subcommittee can be formed, and therefore it is. All right.
Can you repeat who the appointees were?
There'll be Commissioner Rocha and Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you.
Christina, do you feel left out?
Oh, I'm so lonely. I'm willing to tag along. I mean, like I said, my forte is historic research and the below ground unseen.
We can add to that, Christina, because I think the more the merrier when it comes to programs and economic incentives. So if you would like to join that subcommittee, I would enjoy you being on there.
Sure.
Okay, then we will add Christina to the subcommittee for economic incentive programs. All right. Okay, let's move along to the next update. VC.
Hello, Commissioners, this is Alicia Gonzalez, Historic Preservation Specialist. I will give a staff update regarding the Liberty Theater, HP 171, located at 944 Baroness Avenue. Updating the application for demolition permit, as well as exterior. A demolition-only building permit was issued in January. This permit was never reviewed or approved by Historic Preservation staff or the Historic Preservation Commission. Staff was not notified until late February, early March that this had occurred. Historic Preservation staff immediately conducted a site visit with a member of the building department, gave an overview and a recommendation to upper management about the project, and informed the commission at the HPC meeting held on March 22nd. The commission discussed this matter at the meeting, which concluded with instructing staff to monitor the project so that the activities fell within the permit parameter, monitor historic features, and that no exterior alterations were permitted and would require review from the Historic Preservation Commission prior to being issued. Staff informed the applicant of the commission's expectations. The commission received an additional update on April 26th from the most recent site visit, and staff informed the commission that the applicants would be present at the following meeting. Commissioners were sent plans, the PowerPoint, and all additional information provided by the applicants prior to the HPC meeting on May 24th. Applicants gave their full presentation on May 24th, but due to a technical error, the meeting had to be continued. Monitoring continued. Applicants updated their documents, which were then sent to the commissioners. An item was presented at the June 28th meeting. Commissioners gave feedback to the applicant at this meeting, and it was again emphasized that an additional permit needed to be filed for any exterior alterations. On August 8th, staff from the planning department, building department, historic preservation, code enforcement, one commissioner, one council member and his child, 2 members of the council member staff, and the primary applicant conducted a site visit. Since the initial application, which received no review or approval from Historic Preservation staff or HPC, no work has been conducted to the exterior of the building. To date, the applicant has completed the initial scope of work and has filed a development permit, which is in process and must be reviewed by the HPC prior to any activity. That concludes our update. And I believe we have the applicant online if necessary.
Do we have any comments from any other commissioners or questions to staff regarding the history portion of that or the update?
No.
Not hearing any. Is there any comments from the applicant? If the applicant is online, would the applicant like to speak?
You guys can raise your hand if you like. Danilo, David, Karen. Not yet.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Okay, so I see Dan's hand. We could bring him in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you're off.
Yeah, no comments.
No comments. Okay.
Thank you.
I know one item or one thing that I've heard from the public and maybe other commissioners have is how we arrived here. I think that was covered in your presentation. You know, we understand that there's been more demo than expected on the interior, but that is being resolved at this moment. That wasn't an item that was up for commission approval at the time. So are there any other comments or questions from commissioners?
I have a question. My recollection was at our last meeting, we asked the applicant or staff to determine whether or not the original historic citation included the interiors. Do we know if the citation included the interiors, or is it just an exterior?
Mike, do you have an answer for that?
I do not have an end. I'm conferring with Alicia. So I want to understand the question, Commissioner Lodge, and you're asking about, I know there was a question at the last meeting regarding the interior and how much of that was historic. And I don't believe we've completed our research on that. Have we?
No.
But a lot of the interior has some of the stuff as it has some of the pictures you may have seen have been, you know, a lot of the interior has been gutted at this point, as some of you are aware of. So we continue the research because we certainly intend on trying to restore as much of that of the interior as possible. Right now, the exterior is not formally in for review yet, but that's a separate matter. Will come before us, but we are certainly working with the applicant to see what can be done to restore as much of the interior as possible. And we're all aware of that maintenance. Noted earlier that some things may have been taken out when they shouldn't have. So and also keep in mind that I believe prior to the current applicant, there may have been some other work that was done inside that building that we're unaware of. So it's kind of not difficult to ascertain at this point, but we certainly will continue to dig deep into that and see what else we can find out.
Okay.
So I think the question was, in the original listing, were there interior features that were considered significant and added to its importance, or was it solely based on exterior features?
Thank you. That clarifies the question. Within the historic resource inventory, which is listed for the Liberty Theater, there are no interior features other than citing that there are over 2,000 seats. That is the only interior feature that's noted within the historic inventory, which is the basis of the local registry nomination and eligibility. Everything else is noted for the exterior and the general architecture of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask, did I understand that there's a building department application in right now?
A development. So it
Okay.
should be coming through.
Do we know any more about what the developer is proposing to do with the interior from that?
Exterior only. The current permit that's being submitted is for exterior only.
Oh, okay, I thought there was one pending for the interior as well.
There is an interior building permit that was issued. However, the work on that has not commenced yet. In order for that work to begin, we need to finish the demo, which has been going on these past several months. I believe that's about complete. That needs to have a final inspection from our building staff before, you know, they can start the other interior work, which, you know, as Alicia alluded to earlier, was done without, the interior was done without, our.
So can you share what would be going forward after this first piece?
It would like, and I don't have a plan in front of me, essentially it would be the beginning of the rehab of the interior to convert it to a church, which would include, I believe, third story lodging, a mezzanine on the second floor, and then just a revamping of the entire interior. But I would like to have, maybe not at this meeting or at a future meeting, have say at our next meeting, have the board or his team give a much more detailed presentation as to the interior work that is proposed and what changes, what's going to be restored. I think that's a question here. I mean, they can certainly revamp the interior and say, okay, but what historic features are going to be, but are going to replace as part of that? I think that's a question that the commission has at this juncture. Right now, there isn't a formal application for the exterior of the building. There was some discussion about doing some exploratory drilling in the walls to see what was behind. But we never granted that permit. That permit was never issued. And the applicants have kind of backed away from that based on everything that's, based on the height sensitivity that this project has received over the last month or so. So right now, the commission, what we have is we have a demo permit that was issued, and that work's about to be completed. Once that is done, we would like to have the applicants come back and explain in detail the interior remodel. I believe they touched on it initially, but I definitely want the commission to get a better understanding of what they are proposing and what changes are making to try to reinstall some of the historic character of that building.
So did I understand it? Did I understand they did more demolition than they were allowed to by the permit that they have? Is that correct?
Not necessarily. What they did was they demoed the interior of the building, and they may have taken out some historic elements that probably could have stayed there or preserved.
Well, how would they, if they have a demolition permit, how would they know what items, what historical items on the interior they're not allowed to take out? How would they know that?
They probably, well, I can't speak for the applicant, but I will say, as Alicia pointed out earlier, this was not routed to us for review and comment or to this body. So by the time we found out about it, they were well into the interior demolition.
Where was the breakdown then?
The breakdown was at our public counter where it was not routed for review.
Okay, understood.
It's corrected. Our land management system does have all historic addresses listed, including all those within historic districts. And it does, and we are revamping that to make sure that when you type in the address or that resource number, that pops up, it says historic preservation property, historic preservation will be required. And I will tell you that there was at least a couple of samples that we did of addresses that we knew were on the register that did not show up, so we had to update that. And we believe we're about done with that process right now. We're currently in the process of updating that register. We have, I think there's a few that were added over the past few years, but for some reason it did not appear, did not pop up and give us that notice. So fortunately, nothing was done on those respective buildings, but all that is in the process of being clarified. So that is, like I said, that's being rectified.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Rocha. I have a question. I know that when the applicant had presented to us regarding the changes they were looking to make to the exterior, I believe staff had said that they were going to look into when the property was designated a historic property, if the Hardee's marquee was also included in that. Do we have any update on that?
So Hardee's is not included in the nomination, but we need to discuss adding Hardee's as a period of significance as well, since it is a predominant point in history of the Liberty Theater. So as, I don't know if that's a commission item or a staff, we need to work on updating that so that that's also included. So it would meet the criteria.
Thank you.
Yeah, from what I recall, when the property was nominated for or applied to the its HP number, when it was signed on to the system, it already existed like it is with the Hardee's Theater bump out as an early example of adaptation to a building. So that, all the pictures and when everything was documented and applied to the theater number, it existed at that moment how it is presently with the Hardee's frontage. Any other comments for staff?
Yes. Is staff aware of where those pieces from the interior are located? So in case there's need for replacement of some of those items?
They are no longer there. And
Were they demolished or
they're
in
no longer-
storage?
Yep, one of our applicants.
Two of them are, so transfers. Terrence, can you hear me? There we go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm Terrence Pearson. I'm the applicant and also the senior project manager of this project. Everything that was demolished, we were under the impression we were allowed to. We had a permit to do everything we've done. We did say in the meeting that we were going to reserve the stage portion of the project, including the Eagle. And I also stated in the meeting that we're going to paint it, everything, all the trim, a metallic gold paint and white. And we also had it in our PowerPoint. So as far as historical items, the only thing really on the facade that was historical would be the stage area and the arch. Everything else was taken out and demolished to accommodate what we presented by architectural and structural plans.
But there's been no exterior demolition, is that correct?
We have not done any exterior demolition. We have not demoed anything that we weren't allowed to. We did everything per plan. We did set that meeting. I was under the impression the meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, the commission was coming out to do that exploratory. When everyone showed up, I realized that that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to go inside, which I allowed that. I want, like I said, we want to welcome everyone to this project. We want this project to be welcoming, not hostile. And we really want to give the city of Fresno a very good job and a very good product. We did create a new rendering for the outside facade. Our new rendering does leave the existing Hardee's marquee, and we just in the areas where the channel lettering, whereas the historical channel lettering, that's where we're going to put the sign for the church.
You're muted, Jason.
Sounds like we'll hear that item for an action item eventually on the commission over the next few months. Is there any idea from staff when we might see that in front of us?
All right, Jason, are you talking about the exterior application?
That's correct.
We will work with the applicant to clarify his submittal, because right now there's some back and forth going on as to what's missing and what's not in terms of being able to process that. So if we can get that clarified shortly, we may be able to get that back as soon as September, or maybe in October. But this is a very sensitive issue, as you're well aware, and want to make sure that we follow proper procedure here. So we don't want to rush things, basically. So I'd say at the soonest it'd be September, but you're probably looking at October.
Okay. Before I move on to commission items, is there any last comments or questions for staff or for the applicant?
Danilo wanted also.
Say that again.
My question for staff is, I assume the system has been fixed so that we don't have this problem in the future. At the counter, they'll be able to know immediately whether a project is historic or not. Is that correct?
That's correct, Paul. We were working on
Thank you.
that.
Good.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, just to clarify, between October and November of 2019, that's when we first approached the building department with the proposed project. And we knew the project was a historical project. And the information given to us was that the zoning allows to be a church, that we could add a pastor quarters or apartment for the pastors. And the interior could be modified as needed. So based on those information, that's what we create the proposed floor plans that was submitted in December of 2020. So that application that we submitted was saving pretty much all the main features and the main historical elements of the theater. All the trims of the theater were saved. Everything that was demolished that was in our plans, 99% was plaster, flat plaster, no detail. All the main details are preserved inside the theater. So that's, I wanted just to say that.
Thank you for the comment. Any other ones before we move along? Okay, hearing none. Let's move
Chair Hatway.
finally towards, yes.
Hi, I was just, this is Raj Videja, Assistant City Attorney. I was reviewing the bylaws regarding the creation of a committee. And while you do not need a vote to make appointments, the commission does need to vote to create the committees, and that is agendized. So I think you can do both in one motion. Somebody would make the motion a second, and then you would take a vote to create the two committees that you appointed.
Okay, so we will close item VC and jump back to VB for a motion from the commission for both the subcommittees that we just heard.
I move
we have
that we form the two subcommittees.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second. And then we will take a roll call on both of them. Roll call vote, please.
Jason Hatway,
Aye.
Christina Roper,
Aye.
Paul Halajian,
Aye.
Robin Goldbeck,
Aye.
Christopher Rocha,
Aye.
John Simmons,
Aye.
Thank you for bringing that up, Assistant City Attorney Raj. We will now move along to our commission items. And item number, the first item, ID 2123-193. Do we have and just for the public, this is only a review and comment. This isn't an action item. These are items that are things coming towards the city that we're going to get some information on and review and comment on any questions the commission might have for staff or the applicant. Staff, would you like to do your presentation?
this is Alicia Gonzalez, the Charter Preservation Specialist, to give a quick report for this project. So staff recommends that the commission review and comment on the location, concept, general design for the new infill construction of a medical building and parking lot located at 1045 U Street. This project relates to the potential impact of proposed St. John's Cathedral Historic District. The purpose of this review and comment is to initiate discussion and to provide advisement before moving forward in preparation for proposed projects. Review of a project proposal is not a formal project review, cannot result in an approval or denial, and may not be relied upon by an applicant for any purpose other than obtaining general applicable information about the historic review process. The proposed construction will include a 7,077 square foot medical building. The proposed building will consist of a primary stucco building facade at the top of the building and stone tiles at the bottom. flat composite roof, and a single pane windows throughout the exterior facade. Pursuant of FMC section 1606A2 and B23, staff requests that the commission review and comment on this project proposal for the purpose of initiating discussion and providing advisement before moving forward in preparation for a proposed project. The background, the proposed St. John's Cathedral Historic District is located in northeast corner of downtown Fresno. The historic district boundary is outlined by Divisadero Street to the north, U Street to the northeast, Tulare Street to the southeast, U Street to the southwest, and Fresno Street to the northwest. Currently, there are 17 contributing properties within this boundary. The proposed St. John's Cathedral Historic District was formerly proposed to be named the Hospital Hill District because of its association with healthcare, medical, and hospital buildings within the area. The proposed St. John's Cathedral Historic District has a diverse array of residential types from craftsman bungalows, Italian villas, colonial revival, Dutch colonial revival, Victorian, Renaissance revival, and American Foursquare. The St. John's Church buildings and Emmanuel Lutheran Church are examples of collegiate Gothic style. The proposed project is for an infill development of a 0.52 acre lot in downtown Fresno, located at 1045 U Street within the St. John's Cathedral. The building is located in the DTN, Downtown Neighborhood District, and is subject to Fresno Municipal Code Chapter 15, Article 15 regarding downtown district, which shall comply with downtown community plan. The property is the previous location of historic property 134, the John Hughes home, which was damaged by a severe fire and demolished in 1982. The property has remained and is currently vacant. Adjacent to this project are retail buildings built in the 1960s to the southwest, or southeast, northeast across U Street is a Starbucks and Office Depot. Northwest across Mariposa Street is a World Mission Society Church of God, and to the west is existing alley and residential property. The overall design and character of the proposed building is contemporary. The primary use of this proposed building is an owner-occupied pediatrician's office, and for convenience of practitioners and patients, the design includes the construction of on-site parking to the west. Application number P21-01909 with the initial project proposal was submitted on June 21st, 2021. The applicant contacted the Historic Preservation Division via email on June 21st, and the applicant submitted permit number P21-04176 through the FASTER application on July 27th. The commission should consider the size, scale, location, design, setbacks, and overall style of the proposed building. And staff recommends that the commission review and comment on the concept and general design of the new infill construction of the medical building. The report.
Okay. All righty. Is the applicant present in this meeting as well?
Yes.
Is there anything the applicant would like to add to the presentation? And if I can get your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
We can hear you, Scott.
Great, yeah. My name is Scott Mercer, architect. Address, my address 17174 Benicio Road, Madera, California 93636.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit more about your project and what you envision.
Well, it's simply a medical office building that is fairly unobtrusive, and it's basically just trying to meet as many of the downtown requirements, because there's a whole slew of requirements that the downtown zoning designation have, things like materials that you can and can't use, the setback distances from the street and sidewalk, things like that. And so basically it's just to try to, we didn't have some kind of grand architectural vision for this thing. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just basically to have a building that didn't, a building that did fit in at least nominally with, the downtown area, and that would be, an affordable project for the owner. So, like I said, there's not really some kind of grand architectural vision for this thing. Is what it is.
Is there is a site plan and elevations and the like being prepared presently? Oh, here we go. It's very helpful. Alrighty. It'd be okay. So they're not anything different from obviously the Starbucks across the street. Very complimentary to the new development over there. Can we see the first page of the site plan? I think this is good information for us as a commission to be able to look at and kind of identify where the building and the placement of things are going to be. So, okay, alrighty, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding the site plan or comments to the staff or the applicant at this time?
Well, Vice Chair Boyd, I think you said it well. I think it does a good job of kind of working with the Starbucks. I'm not sure that's a lofty goal, but I think they said that up front, that they weren't trying to create anything lofty. So I think they've done a fine job of relating this to that building. And in terms of the site plan, I think they've done all the right things. They put the building on the corner. There's a nice landscape buffer. They're shielding the parking. So since we're not trying to do lofty things here, I think they've cleared the bar.
Sure, and I wouldn't disagree with that either. Just looking at the placement, I was really more concerned with across the alleyway. There's a historic home with a carriage house,
right.
And with the building being up on the corner like that, it doesn't seem that it's like going to impede the view substantially for vehicles driving by. There's plenty of separation.
Can we see the view that's opposite St. John's? What would St. John's be looking at? Which elevation?
Let's see.
I can try Googling it.
That would be the Mariposa elevation of the new building. Can we see that?
Oh, on page 3.
Mm-hmm.
We can tab over to the elevations again.
1 second, guys. Okay. So we wanted this one?
Yeah.
There we are.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So that would be the northwest elevation.
Isn't it yes, correct. That's right.
All the elevations look the same.
Yeah. The entry, as I understand, is on the southwest elevation.
What is that material that looks to be some sort of ashlar stone pattern? Is that a precast stone? Can't read the writing.
It's going to be some type of stone tile. We haven't made final decisions on it yet.
Okay, so that's something the Starbucks doesn't have. So that's a nicer material, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. A question for staff. This is in the historic district, correct? Is the Starbucks across the street still in the district? You know?
I think maybe a map.
Just pull up that historic district map. It's proposed.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wonder if the boundary extends to that side. All right.
It should be an attachment.
Oh, okay. I have a lot open in progress. Okay, so the,
Close
that
district.
one. Can you
Or
see
make
it
it bigger.
or?
The yellow.
Let's get that plus sign.
But I haven't shared yet. I just want to get so that we're all just looking at the same thing. They don't know what I'm doing.
They should join me.
Right? You need to sell that to them.
That looks like it's outside. Oh,
Can
it's
you
inside of this,
see
sorry, it's
this?
outside.
Everyone? I can, I'm afraid, I'm just trying to not make it blurry, so. Okay,
So the Starbucks building is outside the boundary.
The Starbucks looks like it's outside. the
it is
boundary.
just, it is the boundary.
The Starbucks and Office Depot on the outside.
Right.
Right.
So there's Starbucks located right there underneath the APN number. And the cathedral just across the street from it directly to the west. And then where the arrow is pointing, the vacant lot.
Can somebody point out the cathedral's actual location on that?
That would, yeah, go ahead and see if you have a pen on that, or if you can wiggle your cursor around the cathedral.
1 second, I had to step away from it because my computer was dying.
Square directly. Right here. Nope.
What are you looking for? Exactly, I'm back.
Asked about the cathedral.
Is that, where are you at?
Yeah, right there. That's it.
Okay. Sorry,
Okay.
it was just, it started alarming.
We don't want to lose one.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's all we need.
Okay, there
So
I
where
answered.
the cursor is at is where the cathedral is, correct?
Not according to my map. I thought we're talking about St. John's Cathedral?
Or that might be Lutheran.
That's the phone.
Is it this one then?
There's the right there is the World Mission, the Church of God, which is due directly kind of northwest of the vacant property.
This is the blue.
There we go. That's the cathedral.
Okay, that is St. John's, where my mouse is now.
Okay, yeah, about 1,000+ feet away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties in between.
Yeah, south of the site is St. John's. But there's adjacent historic structures throughout that throughout Mariposa, correct? And those what the areas in blue signify.
Yeah. Every blue square is on the local register.
Mm-hmm.
They are what consists of what's on the proposal for the historic district.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make it clear what all those blue dots were. I saw the legend down there now that you scroll down just a hair. Okay.
Zoom in.
All right, any further questions or comments regarding the site plan or the elevations that are preliminary in nature at this moment?
I think as long as we are we satisfied that matching the Starbucks that's as good as we can get? I think maybe the one thing I would like to see on that building is at least a pitched roof, something that, is sort of like the historic buildings around it. None of the historic buildings have a flat roof. The only flat roofs are the more recent buildings. The Starbucks is a good example. I think a building with a pitched roof would be much more appropriate there, given what's around it.
I would agree with Paul. Is this the best we can do for that area with some pretty awesome buildings within that district?
For a copy of something. We're looking, as Paul suggests, for a nod to some forms previously used.
Yeah, those are good comments. Any other comments we can give to the applicant so they can take some information away and really adapt our thoughts into the project?
Let me add this. I think Mr. Mercer described the building as contemporary. I would say that it's not a contemporary building. It is making some gestures to a more traditional character. The main gesture, in my opinion, is the tile work or the precast stone, whatever that material is going to be. I think that right there, the fact that they've done that is kind of maybe a more I guess powerful nod to history and tradition, and to not put the pitched roof on it, I think is falling short. So I think it's not a contemporary building. It's kind of a traditional building. And if you put a pitched roof on it, I think it can much more be argued that it is trying to be a historic or make historic references, and is trying to be a, traditional building that's kind of contemporary because it doesn't have a roof on it. So.
Can I make one comment or not yet?
Please.
Sure.
I'll put brick instead of that tile if I can get rid of your pitched roof.
Why do you want to get rid of the pitched roof? Why are you opposed to that in this context?
Well, no, it's simply that as far as cost wise, between our structural system and everything else,
I disagree. What's the difference between a TJI and a prefabricated gang nail roof truss? Cost-wise. Do you think there's a significant increase in cost?
I haven't done an analysis of it.
I don't think there's a significant cost difference between a flat roof that framed with TJIs and a single ply membrane versus a prefabricated truss 24 inches on center with asphalt shingles. I think that even that is not exemplary, but I think it's better, and I think it's more appropriate in this context than what you have there. And I don't think that's going to be a significant cost increase. And brick might be a better solution given what's across the street, because there is no cut stone in that area. I think the brick, as you suggested, I think is a better move.
And even if it's just a brick veneer, that's
Yeah,
I know a nice product. Okay. Now, because this is a commission item and we're just doing a review and comments, we do also have the the requirement to open it for public comment, and then we can bring it back to the commission with final comments if we have any. I'd like to move this along to see if there's anybody from the public that would like to comment on the project. And if you raise your hand, that would be great on the Zoom app. And let us know what your name and your address is as you come on. So any members of the public like to speak? Oops. Out of the 5 attendees of the public, I don't see any wanting to speak on this item, so I will go ahead and bring it back to commission for any final thoughts or suggestions to the applicant. I think we've given Mr. Mercer a few comments and ideas constructively. I think the orientation of the site, is well laid out. I know it's about all you can do with it. The security in the parking lot, I don't think that's an issue. I think I would ask for maybe the fencing to be complementary to the fencing in the area, which I'm sure that material we'll see, later on. Any other comments from commission before we move down the agenda?
I don't have a comment on the building, but I have a question for staff regarding the historic district. So if it's okay to ask that now?
Yes.
Okay. Could this St. John's Historic District is not on the list that has been put forward by the commission, and so is there some way that we could see when the district was originally proposed at the next meeting? Let me see, when was the district originally proposed, and see where the district is in the priority schedule, because it's not in the top 5 of the districts that we've previously submitted, hoping to move them down. That includes Fulton Historic District, Chinatown, others, and so looking at the districts that are now coming up as proposed districts, it seems that we have a whole lot of proposed districts out there. So I'd just like to kind of see where all of them are.
Yes, Commissioner Sims will provide that update at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Chair, I just have one comment, maybe to the applicant if they're still there. As Commissioner Simmons just noted, we have a number of historic districts, thematic districts, this being one of them, and these districts just serve to highlight some of the gems that we have in town, and when they're not, say, one right after the other, visitors to the city will walk around and see maybe not all within that district, maybe they see one block, and I think it would be an enhancement to the district if there was a difference between the Starbucks and the building in a district across the street.
Right, so some consistency within the district as far as complementary, at least materials, not necessarily exact style, because we want to make sure that, some of the content is distinguishable from different eras. But yeah, certainly good comments, I think. Is there any other questions, or is the applicant, do you feel like you have enough information to move forward with your project?
So since this is just a proposed district anyway, Paul, I appreciate your wanting me to take a look at the historic buildings. And frankly, the design of this had not, we weren't looking at the Starbucks at all, but how binding is, I don't think I even understand the, as far as the role that you all play in this. Is it that we can either take or leave the suggestions that you make, or later on, do you vote on it and you can shoot me down completely on my design? I just don't understand the role that I'm just trying to understand better what the role of your committee is.
Yeah, so when these are kind of infill or adjacent to historic buildings, we do get the ability to either accept or push back on certain architectural elements, or layout, or even down to some of the more fine details, especially within a district. So those do become items that go through our approval, and I think we're down to very small items. We're talking about an elevation modification, some brick veneering, and maybe some complementary fencing. So with those three elements, I don't think there was anything overly substantial, but I know you do have to work with what you have.
And the owner has
So-
opinions. Yeah, the owner does have opinions as well. I understand that there are,
Right.
I'll be driving through the area and looking at some of it and taking a
Sure.
look at the historical buildings, that I had that map that was displayed. I screen grabbed it. I'll take a look and see what other buildings are on the, that are historical, and see what, nods we can give,
And I think once the item comes back, it'll be, potentially up for approval. That would be the next step as you're working through with the planning department. Color renderings or anything that helps deliver the idea a little strong would be well received. And this commission in the past has been very flexible in working with landowners and trying to come to a good idea and agreement on what would be appropriate for the area.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mercer,
Thank you.
This is Janice Monroe. I just wanted to let you know that the map that I showed is attachment D as in David on the agenda for this item.
Great, thank you.
It is available.
Perfect.
You can get to that link I sent in the email to.
Yeah.
All right. I look forward to seeing this project and where it heads. Hopefully we can some good information. So appreciate you again providing the documents you did. I guess we will close that item and we will move on to the next item. There's no vote on that item, so we can move directly to the next item. Staff, would you like to present the next one?
I need to recuse myself. My firm is handling this project. My colleague Stephanie Say will do the presentation.
Okay.
So just procedurally, I think for the recusal, either we can put Commissioner Halajian as an attendee, or he can just turn off his camera and mute his mic as if he's not here.
There's an option to put them on hold. That's what we did last time, Raj. Will
That works
work?
well. Yeah.
Go ahead and put Paul on hold. All right. See, he's no longer in the group on the panelists. Staff, take it away.
Alicia Gonzalez here again. Staff recommends that the commission review and comment on the location, concept, and general design for the new infill construction of three buildings located at 1433 Broadway Street. This project relates to and potentially impacts the proposed Uptown Cultural Historic Arts District. The purpose of this review and comment is to initiate discussion and to provide advisement before moving forward in preparation for a proposed project. Again, review of a project proposal is not a formal project review, cannot result in an approval or denial and may not be relied upon by an applicant for any purpose other than obtaining general applicable information about the historic review process. The proposed construction will include two buildings. The front building measuring roughly 10,000 square feet and the rear building roughly 15,000 square feet. The proposed buildings consist of primarily stucco building facade, 3x12 composition roof, horizontal metal siding, horizontal cement siding, and primarily single-hung windows. The proposed Uptown Cultural Arts Historic District dates to the founding of the town of Fresno in the early 1870s, when the Central Pacific Railroad Company established a passenger freight station. The proposed Uptown Cultural Arts Historic District is a diverse array of historic, era, and modern period residential properties from shingle, colonial revival, neoclassical, mission, and craftsman. Commercial and industrial property types are examples of one-part commercial blocks with facades detailing attributing Spanish revival, Spanish eclectic, streamlined modern styles, two-part vertical blocks with classical exterior detailing. The proposed Uptown Cultural Arts Historic District is identified as a thematic historic district, and the boundaries for the district are depicted on the map. To date, the Commission has not made any action on formal application for the proposed Uptown Cultural Arts Historic District. The proposed Uptown Cultural Arts Historic District is eligible as a local historic district defined by FMC Section 12-1603F and retains the status of proposed until an action is made by the Commission regarding its designation. The proposed project is for an infill development of a 0.45 acre site in downtown Fresno. Within the proposed district, the overall design and character of the building is contemporary with accents of bold color and a unique form. The concept is based on the Dada art movement in the 1920s. The proposed project includes 37 residential apartment units, 8 on-site parking stalls, shared courtyard, utilities, trash recycling. The front building, which runs southeast along Broadway Street and is bordered by the Kepler Playground. To the northwest, the proposed rebuilding to the southwest and the Mayflower Lofts are located at 1450 Broadway to the southeast. The front building is a 2-story tall building and 3 stories at the southeastern end. The Commission should consider the size, scale, and location and overall style of the proposed building. Provide guidance in relation to evaluating new infill construction, and the Commission should also consider the project in relation to the historical and architectural value of the respective historic district and any applicable design standards. Staff recommends that the Commission review and comment on the concept and general design of the new infill construction.
Okay, would staff happen to have those displayed for us to look at over Zoom?
We want to let the applicant do their presentation as well.
Okay.
Right.
Let's see, we have attendee Stephanie Say. I would like to turn it over to the applicants for a presentation. State your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Say, and I'm with Paul Halajan Architects. Address 389 Clovis Avenue, Suite 100, Clovis 93612.
If you don't mind telling us about your project a little bit, that'd be very great.
Sure. It looks like Alicia is pulling up the presentation now. So this project we're working on is, like she said, just on the very south edge of the Cultural Arts District. It's 37 units of primarily studio apartments, and it's in a district that I feel like fits that criteria very well. It's very saturated with housing at the moment. So what we're trying to do is fill a gap in the housing market there where there's a lot of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, and fill that gap with a studio that is an affordable point of entry for young people and people who don't need a 3 bedroom apartment or don't want roommates. We're filling a need there, creating something unique with the architecture. Like Alicia mentioned, this is based on the Dada art movement. So there's a lot of unique kind of asymmetry and playing with standard materials and new ways to help create something different. So you can go down to the next couple sheets. That's just the location of the property within the district, that yellow area. The two closest listed resources are kind of across the street and north just a little bit is the Parker Nash building number 226, where Kepler School is currently. And then just to the other side of us on the west is the Benham Ice Cream building and the Dale Brothers Coffee sign. So really these two buildings, I guess the Parker Nash kind of faces our property, but it's kind of offset a little bit. And the other building, the Benham Ice Cream building, is really facing H Street. So we're just looking at the backside alley, which is very uninviting and kind of boring, to be honest. It's just a whole bunch of walls and a gated yard on the south end there. So you can scroll down to the next one. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with what the Cultural Arts District entails, but I just threw a couple of context photos on here, what's already there in the area. These are the floor plans of the building. So we have two buildings. One is primarily 3 stories facing Broadway. So we're getting a little bit of density on the street with those studios that open out onto Broadway. And what we're doing is actually raising that up about 18 inches to provide kind of a porch experience. And then you can see the slot that kind of like slices through that front building kind of on 2/3 of the way up. We're going to do a ramp that way that goes up into this shared courtyard. So we maintain all of our ADA access without having any ramps on the front of the building, just the kind of raised porch separation and a planting buffer there. So you can go to the next sheet. These are just some real quick sections through the building so far. That kind of slot that I mentioned in the floor plans is what you're cutting through on the top. So we're trying to kind of play with asymmetry, which was a Dada art concept where they just kind of like threw items at a paper and kind of let papers fall. And it was very collage based and kind of random, very colorful, and very asymmetrical. So what we're kind of playing with here is the asymmetry. You can see the roof lines are not just like standard symmetrical roof lines. We kind of offset them a little bit, which allows us to create some skylights and play with light as a very inexpensive way to dress up a pretty like flat surface, I guess. And so we're doing that in 2 places, through that entry portal on the top, and then in the rear building, we're kind of carrying that skylight concept into the 2nd floor corridor. So this is the primary street elevation along Broadway. Another thing we're trying to do with that asymmetry is use standard kit of parts materials. So unit windows, pretty standard looking railings, and like asphalt shingle roofing, and creating something different out of them. So you can kind of see the roof is essentially like melting off of the horizontal like surface onto the facade, kind of creating a different idea of what an asphalt shingle should look like and how it should function. So it's kind of just a play on like the Dada art movement. Everything was kind of melting and sliding and moving. It was very dynamic. So that's one kind of way we tied that in. That front building that you're seeing with the mural right there, basically to maximize density on the site and get a really urban feel to it, we have a couple of walls that are on the property lines or very close to them, so we can't have any penetrations through them. So we thought that would be a perfect place to do a mural on both sides, because the Mayflower building is kind of set back a little bit, and that's right at the entry point for them. And then on the opposite side, it's obviously open right now as the Kepler playground, but when you scroll down, you'll see the other side too. So this is the alley elevation. You can see the playground on the left there where Kepler has their play field, and then the Mayflower would be on the right here. So again, kind of the same idea, creating asymmetry, very simple kit of parts, so pretty standard window sizes and layouts, and just playing with how that roof kind of like melts onto the facade there. And this is just the opposite side. So this is like the view from Kepler's playground with that mural there. So this sheet is showing the two interior courtyard elevations. And what we were trying to show here is just that the Dada movement was very bold in its color. And so we wanted to really highlight that in a way that pedestrians and the users would really experience it. So instead of just focusing all of our effort on the street or on the primary facades, we're actually bringing some of that into the courtyard with very simple ideas. So just kind of a colored stucco on the inside and playing with the massing and furring to create something dynamic on the inside too that doesn't cost a whole bunch of money and volume and mass, that sort of thing. And you can see here also that both of the mechanical wells are being screened by that courtyard. So they're kind of facing inward. And so you're not seeing any of the utilities from the outside. These are just some real quick renderings of the inside of the project too. Obviously this is very conceptual. We're pretty early on, but we wanted to bring some of that color inside through like guardrails, accent walls, backsplashes, and then expose the structure and create like vaulted ceilings wherever possible to help pull in some of those ideas of asymmetry into the spaces inside. I think that's the last page. That's all. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, appreciate the overview on the project. Commission, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant? I don't hear any. Wow, quite group. I do appreciate the amount of detail and thought that is in that particular project, especially with the surroundings and bringing some of that that element into the building and complementary, especially in our art district area. So, you know, just giving you a nod to what I see as a very well constructed and designed project. Any other questions? Nobody.
Can I actually ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, so just thinking back to that primary street elevation where the roof kind of melts onto the facade. Originally, the idea was to use asphalt shingles there, and in doing some more research, we don't know if that's the best idea for this project, just because the asphalt shingles are not really designed, obviously, to hang. And so we're not sure that the quality of that material is going to be durable over time. And so we're investigating other options, one of which being an aluminum shingle option, which is actually like much more durable, much easier to install, especially on that vertical facade, because the asphalt shingles, you have to do like a special installation method basically to make sure they don't fall off. So I think I sent Alicia a few pictures of that aluminum shingle. So I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on aluminum versus the asphalt shingle? And you can paint it, or they come in like pre-finished kind of colors.
Well, in a lot of these warehouses, I have noticed there is either a metal roof or aluminum roof. The adjacent project appears, I mean, it's so high, I don't know if you can see the very top of it, but it appears to be also metal or aluminum, whether it's standing seam or something similar to that. But I specifically don't have any reservations about a metal being applied to a roof in an area where it's you know, warehouses that have quite a bit of that material already implemented.
Okay.
It might even be more complementary, just depending on, I guess, your color scheme and overall goal with the way that angle looks.
I think you
For
would.
me, it would be preferable to have the aluminum instead of the asphalt.
Yeah.
I would just ask the applicant, would you foresee maybe that metal have some kind of modeling to it or shading to it and not just be a solid uniform color that your rendering kind of looks that way? I'm just curious what your research is turning up.
So I think in both cases of material asphalt versus aluminum, there are ways to get kind of a dynamic texture on that. One product that we're looking at right now is an aluminum shingle, and it has 4 different like texture options, and then it has like 18 different colors. So I think either mixing the colors or mixing the textures would help create something interesting to look at least on the vertical part of it. And maybe the top is more generic with just one texture, smooth or something.
I wanted to comment just on the, I really like the color scheme you guys chose very like true to the era, but I just thought that color scheme, it would be really nice from the street view if that color scheme was carried to the front also. I know like the property next door is already gray. There's already a lot of gray apartment buildings in that area. I lived there for about 3 years. So to me, when I think of paying tribute to historic homes or properties, I often think of vibrant color schemes that really pay tribute to the architectural features. So the colors that you'd shown that would be in the courtyard area, I think that would look really nice carried to the front of the property also.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely consider that.
Is there just a off the wall question? Is there any collaborative efforts going on with the Kepler building? Since there is a playground right there, and the mural is in that one view, it looked like it was facing the playground. That is seemingly an opportunity to kind of work with the school on what would be kind of appropriate for those kids to be around and also be an artistic impression.
We haven't begun any collaborations with any artists, actually. It's just super conceptual at this point, but that's a great point. We should definitely consider something that's child friendly and maybe involve the students. That would be even a better idea, I think.
Yeah, they are very pro, that school is very pro downtown. My kids went there when they were younger, so they love opportunities to pour into downtown. So I think that would be just a community thing. That'd be a major positive.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions from commission before I turn it over to the public? Okay, seeing none. Now's an opportunity. I'd like to turn it over to the public. If you would like to comment on this project or you have any ideas as well, go ahead and click the raise hand button. Let us know your name and address when you come on. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. So far, none. All right. Well, we will close the portion of the public since there are no comments, and I will bring it back to the commission for any final comments to the applicant they may have. Any questions?
I just want to say it's a fun project. Well,
very much.
Yes.
I really like the angular style of everything, and nothing's the same, and there's an interesting viewpoint no matter where you stand. Well done. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate the thought that went into that project. Okay, seeing that there's no more items on on the commission items, I will close this one and we'll move on to the next. Next item, chairperson's report. I have none as of today. So we will move on to unscheduled items. Is there any members of the commission that have any items they would like to bring up? Okay. Hearing none, staff, are there any unscheduled items you have for this meeting?
Just a reminder that, and I know Dawn sent me some information on some training. We do want to get the commissioners this training that they may wish to have. So please, all commissioners, if there's any training that would like to attend, send those our way, and we'll do what we can to accommodate that request.
Yeah, it's a great comment, just to make sure we're staying on top of our own knowledge and our required learning. Any sort of education you see out there that might apply to our required education hours would be welcome. Receive some from Dawn that was really good and very applicable, and I'd like to get us back into the mindset of training and growing each other. So yeah, any comments, go ahead and shoot them to staff or myself, and I could send them to staff on any sort of training seminars you see coming up that are relative to historic preservation. General public, is there any unscheduled items that you would like to bring up? Just raise a hand on the Zoom app, and we would happy to hear any comments or suggestions or questions you may have that we can address here. Okay, seeing none, then we will close all the unscheduled items. Next meeting will be September 27th, 2021, 6 p.m. And we hope to see everybody there. I know we had a lot to go through tonight. It was nice to finally get through a full list. So at this point, I thank everybody for attending, and I look forward to our next meeting. And this meeting is adjourned.
I think Paul
take care,
has
everybody.
Oh,
Ask one question. Were we going to talk about? Were we going to have a workshop to talk about possible studies?
Possible studies, as far as.
Did I understand that we have some money and we might consider some studies and that might be funded with the surplus money we have, or pennies from heaven, or whatever they are?
Yes, Commissioner Halash, we can certainly do that, but I think we wanted to give the commission an update for where these current districts are at in terms of the ranking order. And then I know we want to get together with HPC to discuss, and you're right, it would be a workshop in terms of what we want to prioritize, as well as some budget items or future requests along those lines. So I do want to get commission more involved in that process. So that'll likely be maybe not our next meeting, probably the one in October.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of districts that we've looked into being formed over the years, and we would love to really get back to making those happen. There are some that are closer to the approval stages versus some. So being wise about getting some of those that are really close bumped up on the list, while the other ones are in process and the survey's being done. It'd be great to put them all back on the table the next meeting, which ones we've talked about over the past few years, and prioritize them and start pushing them to forming. So that would be something I hope we can get a little bit more grasp on within this next month.
Can I just put something out there for people to think about?
Just to clarify, you have adjourned the meeting. So this discussion would be best suited for the next meeting in September, or you can email or connect with staff with comments. I apologize, but you have adjourned the meeting, so this is not agendized. Sorry.
Right. We will continue those discussions.
I guess I wasn't quick enough to unmute, so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
All righty. It was good to see you all again. I hope to see you next month.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.